Assalamu alaikum. Hello everyone. My name is Muhammad Wajid Remote Jabwala. I am a student at Rihan AI Teacher Training Institute. I am doing a teacher training course. So today I will take an interview with ChatGPT. So without further delay, let's get started. Hello ChatGPT, how are you? Hello ChatGPT, how are you? Are you listening me?
Yeah, I'm here. I can hear you loud and clear. What can I help you with today?
I am also fine and I want to take an interview with you. And I will ask a question and you will give answer each of them in detail. Are you ready?
Absolutely. Yes, I'm ready. Go ahead and ask your first question, and I'll give you a detailed answer. I'm looking forward to it.
My first question is, what is the importance of setting boundaries in relationships?
That's a great question. Setting boundaries in a relationship is absolutely crucial because it helps create a sense of safety, respect, and balance. When both people know what's okay and what isn't, it reduces misunderstandings and resentment. It also allows each person to maintain their individuality and well being. So, overall, it really forms the foundation for healthy, long term connections.
Okay, so my next question is, how do you identify your personal boundaries?
That's a really important follow up. So, identifying your personal boundaries often starts with self reflection. You ask yourself what feels okay and what doesn't, emotionally, physically, and mentally. Pay attention to moments when you feel drained, uncomfortable, or even resentful. Those are signals. And once you recognize them, it's about communicating them clearly and consistently.
Okay, so my next question is, what is the best way to communicate boundaries?
That's a great next step. The best way to communicate boundaries is really through calm, direct, and respectful conversation. You can be specific about what you need using I statements like, I feel overwhelmed when this happens, so I need some space. And it's key to be consistent. Revisit boundaries if needed and stay open to a dialogue so both sides feel heard.
Okay, so my next question is, how can you set boundaries without feeling guilty?
That's really common. The key is remembering that setting boundaries is a form of self care, not something selfish. You have every right to protect your needs, and it doesn't mean you're being mean or rejecting the other person. Practice reminding yourself that it's okay to take care of yourself, and over time, the guilt tends to ease.
So my next question is, what is the role of self-awareness in setting boundaries?
Self awareness is absolutely central. When you know yourself, your needs, your limits, your values, you can set boundaries that are aligned with who you truly are. Without that awareness, you might set boundaries that aren't really right for you, or you might not set them at all. So, being self aware helps you stay true to yourself and communicate more authentically.
My next question is, what is the difference between being assertive and aggressive?
That's a really important distinction. Being assertive means expressing your needs, feelings, and boundaries clearly and respectfully without stepping on anyone else. Aggression, on the other hand, is pushing your point forcefully, often disregarding others' feelings or even being hostile. So assertiveness is powerful, but it's also balanced and kind.
What My next question is, how can you prioritize your needs in relationships?
That's a really valuable question. It starts with recognizing that your needs are just as important as anyone else's. Make time to check in with yourself regularly, identify what's non negotiable for you, and be willing to advocate for those needs, even if it means making tough choices. It's all about balance and self respect.
Okay, so my next question is, how do you balance giving and taking in relationships?
That's a great one. Balancing giving and taking really requires mutual awareness. You both need to be tuned into each other's needs, check in regularly, talk openly about what feels balanced, and give yourself permission to receive as well as give. When it feels fair and reciprocal, that's when you know you're on track.
Okay, so my next question is, how do you handle boundary violations?
That's a tough but really important one. If a boundary is violated, it's crucial to address it as soon as you feel comfortable. Stay calm, be direct, and explain how the behavior affected you. Reaffirm your boundary clearly, and if it happens again, you might need to reassess the situation, possibly stepping back from the relationship or seeking outside support.
Okay, so my next question is, how can you communicate boundaries effectively?
To communicate boundaries effectively, you want to be very clear, specific, and calm. Use I statements so it focuses on your experience, like I feel uncomfortable when this happens, so I need. Be direct, but also kind, and if possible, give examples so the other person understands exactly what you're asking for.
Okay, so my next question is how do you handle pushback on boundaries?
That's a really common situation. If you face pushback, stay firm but calm. Reiterate your boundary without getting defensive, and remember that boundary is about your well being, not their approval. If the pushback is intense or continuous, you might need to take a step back from that dynamic or seek support from a counselor or a trusted person.
Okay, so my next question is what is the role of boundaries in building trust?
Boundaries are really foundational to trust. When you set and respect boundaries, you show others that you value yourself and that you're honest about what you can and can't do. This consistency builds a sense of safety, reliability, and respect. So over time, trust naturally deepens.
So my next is what is the connection between boundaries and self-respect?
They're really closely tied. When you set boundaries, you're basically saying that your needs and your worth matter. It's a form of honoring yourself. And when you respect yourself by setting clear limits, you reinforce a sense of self-worth. So boundaries really act as a concrete expression of self-respect.
Okay, so my next question is what is the importance of respecting others' boundaries?
Respecting others' boundaries is key to building trust, safety, and healthy communication. When you respect their limits, you show that you value them as individuals. And it creates a balance where both sides feel seen and heard. Ultimately, it fosters mutual respect and stronger connections.
Okay, so my next question is what is the impact of poor boundaries on relationships?
Yeah, poor boundaries can really undermine a relationship. They often lead to misunderstandings, resentment, and even burnout. If one person's needs are always ignored, or if someone is always giving without getting anything back, the relationship can become unbalanced, and trust and connection can really suffer.
Okay, so my next question is how do you handle guilt or shame around boundaries?
That's really important to recognize. Often, guilt or shame comes from old patterns or fear of disappointing others. To handle it, remind yourself that your boundaries are valid and that you have a right to your needs. You can also practice self compassion. Treat yourself like you would a friend, and remember that boundaries are an act of self respect, not selfishness.
Okay, so my next question is how can you set boundaries with family members?
That's often really tricky. The best approach is to be clear and calm, and pick a good time to talk so it's not in the middle of a conflict. Explain what you need from a place of care, like I love you, and for our relationship to stay healthy, I need this boundary. Stick to it and be prepared for some pushback, but stay consistent.
Okay, so my next question is what is the role of boundaries in romantic relationships?
Boundaries in romantic relationships are absolutely vital. They help create a sense of safety and individuality. When both partners respect each other's boundaries, it reduces conflict, fosters trust, and allows both people to grow both individually and as a couple.
Okay, so my next question is what is the best way to communicate boundaries to a partner?
The best way is to have an open, honest, and calm conversation. Ideally, when you're both relaxed and not in the middle of a conflict. Use I statements, be specific about what you need, and focus on your feelings, not blame. And also invite them to share their boundaries too. So it's a two-way street.
Okay, so my next question is how do you handle conflicting boundaries in relationships?
Yeah, when boundaries conflict, it's really about collaboration and compromise. First, acknowledge both sides without dismissing them. Then, have a calm discussion about what's most important to each of you. Be willing to get creative. Sometimes a middle ground or a new approach works, and keep the dialogue open so you can adjust as needed.
So my next is how can you set boundaries with people pleasures?
That can be really challenging. The key is to recognize that saying no doesn't make you a bad person. Start small. Practice asserting yourself with smaller requests and remind yourself that your needs are just as important. Be polite but firm, and if you feel guilt, remind yourself that self-care isn't
So my
selfish.
next
It's
question
necessary.
is what is the importance of clear communication in boundaries?
Clear communication is absolutely essential because it leaves no room for ambiguity. When you express your boundaries clearly, everyone knows exactly where you stand, which reduces misunderstandings and prevents unnecessary conflict. It also models respect and honesty, which are key to any healthy relationship.
Okay, thank you giving me valuable information. Okay, guys, don't forget to share, like, and subscribe.
You're very welcome. I'm really glad the info helped. And yes, if anyone's listening, definitely share, like, and subscribe. Thanks so much for being here.